Well, Radha, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Gstaad Guy podcast.
Nice to be here.
I'm a big fan of you and all your incredible work
Thank you.
as the president of the Rosewood Hotels and the Rosewood Group globally. You have amazing properties and they look great, as do you, always.
Thank you.
We met for the first time on a flight.
We did.
We're flying to Milan, right?
We were.
London
It was.
to Milan.
I think it was. Was it 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Or was it a year or two ago?
I think it was a year or two ago, and I remember you were wearing, I think maybe a similar jacket to this.
Yes.
You're wearing like a
Yes.
a
I was admiring you wearing that earlier. I thought, oh, I need to dig mine out again. Thank goodness I didn't wear it.
Yeah, it was a similar
It suits you
jacket.
better.
Thank you so much, but I don't think so. I remember looking at you and thinking, wow, that guy knows how to dress, because it wasn't just you had a great jacket on, but you had this whole kind of swagger to you,
Oh.
and I was like, I would love to know what this guy does. And then lo and behold, we ended up connecting and bonding over our mutual love for the
Yeah.
properties that you run, and becoming friends and meeting your lovely wife.
Yeah, that was very kind of you. Thank you. And it was, that moment, and I sort of, our eyes locked at the same time, and I was coming back into the plane, toward my seat, and we just at an angle. I thought, I know that guy, and guy being the operative word. It's like your surname, isn't it? Guy is your surname.
Literally.
Gstaad Guy, Mr. Gstaad Guy.
Exactly.
So I was eyes locked, and I thought, I just, and you looked at me, I looked at you. I thought, okay, and we struck a conversation immediately, and thereafter we've stayed in touch and had some great exchanges,
We have.
and I keep following you everywhere, and it actually gives me great pride when I say, I know that guy.
He's a friend. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I feel the same way. Whenever someone
That's
talks
okay.
about one of your properties in particular,
Yeah.
I say, well,
Well, it's passion, isn't it? It's what you do, traveling around the world and looking at great things and seeing things through your lens, which are always very pretty. And aesthetically, as you know, the hotels that we have, they're kind of handcrafted, curated, detailed, and drive ourselves insane. No, that flower shouldn't be there, or the amenities not positioned correctly, and what amenities will there be in the service, and how the team going to be talking to the guests.
for sure.
So it's a paranoia,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and I think to myself, is it a paranoia, or was it really my calling? Have I driven myself mad, or is it maybe I don't know anything else?
Around the world with your host, the Gstaad Guy. We welcome you back to the Gstaad Guy podcast, sharing stories of excellence with those in the know for those who just know.
Honestly, when I met you, when I look at you, it makes sense that you're running the properties the way you are, because you look like a walking representation of the properties, and you act like it too. You have this incredible warmth to you and this incredible kindness, and you feel that when you come to your properties. And
Yeah.
I always actually think of the complexities of running a hotel, because the properties. Sorry.
Yeah.
The property is one thing, and
Well,
and the team and the leadership is something else. But then the entire experience of a guest could be made by the smallest thing, or even tarnished by the smallest
Yes.
thing, which means that the level of control you have to have at,
Yes.
at a management level to make
Yes.
sure that something as small as the person helping the guest check in
yes,
is doing an amazing job
making a difference.
and making a difference.
No, yes. So look, at the end of the day, there are, in all the hotels that we have today, 36 going on to 40. It's not a lot, but again, each one's crafted thoroughly and unearthing the whole sense of place philosophy that Rosewood has. So there are these interactions going on that are out there that I don't know about between the teams and the guests. Millions of them as we speak. And how do I know that each one of those interactions is being turned into a relationship for the future, a lasting memory? And so, and the only way you can do that is by giving a sense of pride to the teams, making them feel good about life, waking up in the morning so they have a spring in their step and a spark in their eye. And so when you create that environment where people are liberated, the team that I'm talking about, they're liberated to do whatever they wish with the guest, knowing that they have the backing of the team, of the management teams around them, then it's a brilliant world. And you can only do that by your own, walking the talk, or talking the walk, or whatever you say. You have to lead by example.
For sure.
And that's, over the years that I've come through my industry and hospitality, and I know what it's like to lead from the front at the grassroots level, but I also know what it's like to be an associate in the laundry, in the kitchen, in the stewarding, in the front desk. So I know what makes them tick, and that's why I kind of, as I said, I think it's the only thing I know.
I love that. I'd love to.
You ask me one question, I get carried away.
I love that. Please keep going. But I'd love to know more about what makes Rosewood. I've been very privileged and lucky to stay at some of the most beautiful properties in the world.
Yeah.
And I've stayed at a few of your properties, and I do feel this very similar energy that is unique to you and the hotel group. And I'd love to know how you define that.
Yeah, look, like I said, so first of all, we're fortunate. So I'll have to kind of turn back the dial a little bit. So the brand was founded back in 1979, way before you were even a twinkle in your parents' eyes. And so back then, it was founded by a lady called Caroline Rose Hunt in Dallas. Oil family, vegetables. I mean, they had myriad of businesses in Texas. And actually, you're too young to remember. A lot of people think that the series Dallas was formed after them.
Okay.
Back in the 70s, 80s, I think. Anyway, so the idea was for her she had this beautiful mansion on Turtle Creek in Dallas, and she wanted to welcome people home, and she wanted to create. She had such great feedback on how she would welcome people to her home. She said, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to get into hospitality. Maybe bring a sense of a mansion on Turtle Creek and the pride that she had, with her team in Dallas, to kind of create that magic in other parts of the world." So here in LA, Rosewood used to have the Bel Air many years ago. In London, it was the Lanesborough. And so there was only like maybe 8, 9, 10 hotels that she actually got in the end. And then she went into partnership with somebody else, and then continued to grow, and probably reached about 14, 15 hotels, and that was it. So that was kind of the phase one of Rosewood. And then eventually I'll get to your answer.
Please, but this is
I'm going somewhere with this.
This is actually really incredible information I've never known. So please, actually, the more details, the better. We love this.
So that was sort of Rosewood 1.0, if you will. And then 2.0 being when it was purchased by the Cheng family, Sonia Cheng and her father, Dr. Henry Cheng. And that's when I took the role when the brand was purchased, and they asked me to preside over the brand. And
when was that?
2011, 14 years ago.
Wow.
So it's 14 years in the making. We've gone from 15, 16 properties to 36, and then some. Now, a lot of people say, "Wow, you've more than double. That sounds great, the numbers and all that." But there was never a strategy to say, "Oh, we must have X number of hotels, and we're just going to be like another hospitality company, but maybe better, but put some hotels around the globe." Well, no, that wasn't how we wanted to grow. We wanted to take bit by bit by bit and curating the right destination partners that were aligned with us in these destinations and to showcase people generally the public at large about what is Rosewood, because it was mostly its footprint was in the US, in Mexico, in the Caribbean, and the odd smattering here and there in Saudi, in Riyadh. So we said, okay, what is Rosewood? How does it define itself? How is it different to other hospitality brands? And we were fortunate, and this is what I was coming to, fortunate that there was a sort of tagline that was trademarked, and that is a sense of place. So most people use that as a throwaway line. But what we said was, no, we're going to take a sense of place seriously. And we're going to unearth every aspect of what a sense of place means. And with that, it's working with local artisans, hiring only locally, design, product, amenities, and creating something that speaks to the local sensibilities. And so when the brand was purchased, the family actually owned an asset in London, which is now Rosewood London, and it's been around for 12 years. It was an old building under a different brand. The family took it and they said, okay, we just bought Rosewood, the brand. Now we're going to convert this property into a Rosewood. That was a massive risk because, as you know, living in London, all the sort of the top, the amazing hotels and marquee hotels are mostly in either in Mayfair or Knightsbridge. Well, here we are. Our hotel was in sort of Holborn, Covent Garden, and it was a big risk. It was audacious, and through that audacity, we are where we are today. So Rosewood Hong Kong kind of defining its sense of place. If you've ever walked in there, you see the wardrobe of the team, the detail. It is so British. It's an oasis in London, unexpected oasis, and it's like bringing the real authentic London and giving London back to the city of London, because as a hotel, it's just, it kind of redefined Rosewood 2.0. With it, the family also owned an asset in Beijing. It was an old office building that they took the skin off and converted into a hotel. And it's the only property in Beijing that has a lot of softscape around it. Because as you know, there's a lot of hardscape in Beijing. And so that happened in parallel. And then at the same time, as this was going on, we managed to get the keys to the Hotel de Crillon. And that too, and I call it now the living room of Paris. It's not a hotel. And I was personally invested in Hotel de Crillon because I lived there as a child for a few months. I worked there, and I was driven to make it part of the company, and the family were very supportive in allowing me to chase down this opportunity, and there we have it. So that, so basically what I'm saying is that what is Rosewood is taking the sense of place, is finding these unique assets and properties, these hallmark destinations, and converting them into a destination where you want to stay and not a hotel.
Yep. I mean, a lot of your properties, particularly the Rosewood in Palo Alto,
Yes,
doesn't even have the reputation of a hotel. It has the reputation of a place where some of the most iconic deals in Silicon Valley have been made.
Yes.
It has this incredible gathering of some of the leaders in tech.
Yeah.
They hang out there all the time. And I've been there a few times, and I've seen anyone from Bill Gates to Elon Musk just hanging out or having lunch or
Mind you, they probably
having a
say the same
meeting.
thing about you.
I find it very unlikely. I find it very unlikely they do. But it's amazing. And when I talk to friends in London, and someone mentions traveling to Asia and to Hong Kong in particular, they always say you can only stay at the Rosewood when you're in Hong Kong. And I think the difference between running a great property and running an icon for a city or a town is a big difference. And being the staple top property of Palo Alto and of Hong Kong, it doesn't happen through branding yourselves. It happens through perception. So I'm wondering, as a consumer and as a guest, what is it that makes those two properties stand out, and other properties of yours that you consider to be icons globally?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, because and you look at our portfolio today. Of course, I like to think they're all equal, but there are certain properties that kind of stand out, and Silicon Valley, Sand Hill, it's that property was built, I think, it was built about 16 years ago. I was with a different company then, and so-called competition in those days, and I had oversight of Palo Alto as in my role, and I remember seeing the Rosewood Sand Hill being built, and I thought to myself, oh dear, this property is going to be amazing, right? It's a quasi resort city, has great energy about it, a lot of sunlight, and the way the hotel resort has been built with individual villas and
It's in a part of the world that doesn't really prioritize luxury at all.
yes, it doesn't, because and thanks to the previous regime of Rosewood, they had the vision to do that work with Stanford. Of course, Stanford is our partner.
Oh, wow.
And they needed the postgrads to come and stay somewhere and go to college. So what's happened with Sand Hill? I mean, I've seen that. I mean, the success of that property, even when I was sitting on the fence on the other side, I remember thinking, wow, this place is an overnight sensation. And as you said, so many deals have been struck. I mean, so many deals. It's the IT glitterati, basically. And it's deals that have completely changed the shape of our world. And all that's happened in Rosewood Sand Hill. And so now you talk about Rosewood Hong Kong, a lot of people from Asia come to the Silicon Valley. And Hong Kong, the masterpiece that it is, and I always say that ground up, you're never going to see anything built so beautifully and so beautifully crafted, and the aesthetics and the service this century, not ground up. It's just, it was
As your property in Hong Kong.
yeah, ground up I'm talking about. You know, the family believed in Rosewood, the Cheng family, so much that they owned this piece of land, and basically they paid homage to the 80s, because that land was very famous as a destination in Kowloon side, and they owned it. They still own it, and they thought, okay, now that we've seen the success of Rosewood, be it through London, Beijing, Paris, we will now craft something ourselves that will be a showcase to our other partners who want to partner with us and create Rosewood magic in other destinations, and developers and partners. And so that was a 10-year plus undertaking. And we were just waiting with bated breath when the place was open, and the feedback that we got. And there's some unique attributes to that assets that commercially people will say, wow, that was some undertaking, but also at the same time, that's being audacious. And that goes back to my initial word about being audacious about crafting something in London, in a place that was not revered. And Kowloon, same thing. Did not want it to be a typical tall skyscraper. So the property kind of mimics the Rockefeller Center in New York, and is built in such a way that is elegant versus yet another skyscraper. And that of in itself, again, speaks to sense of place. And so then, to continue to answer your question about, there are other places, Rosewood Hotel de Crillon, of course, a favorite as well. The Rosewood Sao Paulo. Wow, I mean, talk about audacity. We had, unlike Rosewood, we work with, kind of designers that we normally work with, the architects, the designers. Well, this one is Philippe Stark, and he's out there. And so he's really, designed for us as something really magical in Sao Paulo. If you haven't been there, you have.
I have not.
You have
Never been to
not.
Brazil.
Oh no, you have to go to Sao Paulo just to go to Rosewood. Just as you think Rosewood Hong Kong is wow, Rosewood Sao Paulo is incredible, and it has, all the local artisans and everything, be it the marble, be it all the elements of the hotel are locally sourced.
People often ask me about my definition of luxury and how I perceive luxury. And I think the easiest way to feel luxury and understand what it means is hospitality in hotels.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to watches or clothes or any other category, it's sometimes harder to experience what it actually means for a product or a business to be luxurious.
Yeah.
I personally define it as something that cocoons you in a way
Yeah.
and cares for you,
Yeah.
forces you to make the least amount of decisions possible
Yeah.
for a luxurious experience,
Mm-hmm.
and also elevates you in terms of
Aspirations and things that you notice.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it elevates your perception of self, it elevates your feelings, elevates your sense of comfort. One of my dear friends, who's the CEO of Acqua di Parma, actually, his name is Giulio. He helped me come up with that decision. So
right.
I must give him credit where it's due. But it basically cocoons you and elevates you.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to imagine that analogy across products. But when you walk into a luxurious hotel, that's what you're meant to feel.
Yeah.
Which of those elements do you think the Rosewood stands out in the most?
I just know that when you walk into Rosewood, that's that sort of it's something that's kind of undescribable. It's that feeling, that sort of, it's that overwhelming feeling of being, knowing that you're going to be taken care of. And I think, certainly in our properties where we have the butler service, the butlers have become such an integral part of everything that we do that you want to bring them home. And when you come home, you think, I have to do all this, I have to make decisions for myself now, and this and the other. But there's the butlers, they've got everything done for you. Pre-arrival, through the stay, post-arrival, and the manner with which they speak to you also makes you feel very comfortable. And that goes back to me saying earlier that, if you create a sense of pride within your team, they will impart their own self to you. And self-actualization. And I think, like you said, it's the whole cocoon aspect. When I do walk into any of our properties, I'm actually standing in the corner observing how the team is behaving with other people, so that it's not just me, so that it gives me a sort of sense of comfort to me, knowing that everybody else is being taken care of. And so when I get these amazing complimentary notes from our guests, these anecdotes, I use those anecdotes constantly to tell more stories. So when I'll go to a property, I'll talk about another property's amazing anecdotes and all this sort of unique experience, small touches. That then kind of perpetuates and that creates a similar behavior. So what you were saying is that, that feeling of every detail being taken care of, including the perfect sheets, the perfect bed, perfect lighting, the way the amenities are placed on the bathroom, is not just a process, because anybody can do that.
For sure.
It's a feeling.
I mean, I've tried to define that feeling for me, staying in some of these hotels, and I think the easiest definition for me is coziness.
Yeah.
And
intimacy.
And intimacy as well. I think that feeling also can come in hotels that aren't necessarily physically cozy. You can have a hotel that's very brutalist or very futuristic, like a Philip Stark hotel, but still have that feeling of coziness from the touch and the tact of the team running it. For example, one of my favorite hotels in the world is the Bedroot's Palace in St. Moritz. I think
It used to be a Rosewood.
Oh, no way.
It
I
was
don't know that.
before under the previous regime. Had it been Rosewood still, when we took over the brand, it would still be Rosewood. Unfortunately, I love that.
I think it's so well run.
Yes,
and it really feels like you are coming home.
Yeah,
and there's a few other hotels globally that give me that same feeling, where you have that homecoming emotion, and it always seems like it's coming down. Top down from the management, who's
a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Richard is an incredible general manager. But there's this very like patriarchal or matriarchal feeling to the property, where it really does feel like no matter how many keys a property has, it feels like you're going into someone's home.
Yeah.
And the Alpina and Gstaad even has that same feeling. There's many properties that I love, and they have that same emotion. And I wonder, when you as the group level operator look to hire these exceptional GMs, what are the values you're looking for in the person that can then translate into an experience for the consumer?
Not every MD, as we call them, managing directors, can say, let's say, run a hotel in Hong Kong and then run a hotel in Paris, or run a hotel in Napa Valley, or whatever it is. It's not, one shoe doesn't fit all. I mean, it has to be somebody who gets that destination, gets that city, somebody who's really impassioned to be in that place.
This podcast is brought to you by Poubelle by the Gstaad Guy, bringing you charms hand-painted with enamel on 925 sterling silver, allowing you to express all the things you love and all the things you might question, from Riva bateaus to backgammon boards and caviar tins to paddle rackets. There is a Poubelle charm or completed set for everyone in the know. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the podcast.
With the caliber of guests that end up kind of following your properties around the world, because a lot of your guests live these nomadic sort of lifestyles, and they end up staying at your property in Hong Kong, and then when they go to London, they're staying in London, and they go to the US, they're staying in your Sandhill Road property. I think they always look for a Rosewood experience, but they also look for a localized touch, and something that's true to that destination, because although you do want something familiar as a guest and as a consumer, you also want something novel.
Yes.
And I think a lot of businesses and a lot of hotels fail at that, where they get the trust right of our customers choose us because they love our brand name, and they'll stay with us because they have that. But then the customer goes to the property in this new destination they haven't been to, and there's
feels
nothing
the same.
novel. Feels the same.
Cut and paste.
And I think localization really is an art. And it can happen at a macro level, architecturally, where a property can inherit some design elements of the group, but then have some local design elements, like you've done at the Rosewood in London, for example. And then even at the menu level. Where do you think the most important touch to first feel a sense of localization comes as a guest? When am I supposed to feel like I've arrived to the city?
We have this sort of saying about relationship hospitality in Rosewood. It's part of our DNA as well. It's part of our ethos and our underlying values. So that relationship has to be built one interaction at a time, and that starts with the very first phone call. You're made to feel good right from the beginning. I say phone call because for me, there's nothing better than, of course, these days everything is through whether it's iPhones or computers, through IT, medium, whatnot. But to have that interaction on a phone, especially when you are about to about to go to a Tuscany or Mexico or one of our destinations, and saying to yourself, well, I'm about to pay a lot of money from my own back pocket here, because most all of our guests are individual travelers.
It's not no corporate guests.
Yes, there are in certain destinations, but we're followed by individual guests, which is the beauty of the brand, because they know they're going to get something unique, as I said, experiential. And so when that journey begins, we make sure that experience is great. And then I think what's happened over the years is that because we've built more assets, more properties, more in different destinations, and we've learned from those different destinations and how to curate something that's unique, each one has kind of given us a lift. And so the more the people acknowledge the fact that Rosewood is something unique and is something subliminal about it, it really does value the local destinations and goes through intimate detail on how it's going to curate something that's local. What I'm saying is that the guests have begun to realize that that's what Rosewood does, and it's given us a huge lift and confidence in doing more of that. And again, to that point, if you take a look at Rosewood, the Chancery in Mayfair, it's a masterpiece. And I'm very hard on myself. We're very hard on ourselves. And you'd mentioned earlier on about so many things go right, and it's about the details. 99% of things that we do are great, but we always focus on that 1% that might let something down. And so this another project, just like Hong Kong and Sao Paulo and Hotel de Crillon, the Chancery Rosewood has taken us almost 10 years to get to its point. I was there last week. You walk in there, you've got Sir David Chipperfield, the architect, Joseph Duhamel from France. It gave me goosebumps for, it's actually what we wanted it to be. But in order to get to that point, there's a lot of vacillation that goes on, and you start questioning yourself. Was that the right thing? Is that really sense of place? Is that really London? And it takes it's a lot of sort of self-analysis and kind of, you walk through it. Even the design team, our design team, they go through every single detail and question themselves all the time, which is what keeps us humble and determined to make sure that the next property is going to be as good, if not better, than the previous one, and will account for all the local sensibilities.
I mean, when I'm choosing a property or a hotel to stay at, I often think about the service I'll get from the property and the staff there before making a decision. But I also often think about the service that the other guests will show the staff.
Yeah.
And will the type of guest that will stay at a hotel.
Mm.
And sometimes it's hit or miss, and you go to a property where you expect things to be great, and there's one guest which kind of maybe throws off the experience with a lack of manners or with a way of being.
Mm-hmm.
But other times it seems like the hotel has a great way of kind of demanding a certain level of respect, mutual respect from the guests, by the way that they treat them.
The golden rule.
I wonder how difficult it is. I mean, you've been in the position or many positions where you actually had your getting your hands dirty on the ground, but how difficult it is to deal with the volatility of what a guest could be like, and always trying to do your best to serve them and serve all their needs. Well, sometimes you just want to say, listen, like, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Because you don't share our values, you don't share our manners. And I have a lot of friends who are hotel operators and managers, and they tell me these crazy stories.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much the person's spending, they could be staying in their best suite for 10 nights, but then they treat staff poorly, or they steal, they take the coffee machine home, or they take the curtains.
Curtains?
They don't respect the property.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you mitigate those things and how you reduce the risk of those things as an operator.
Hospitality, it's not for everybody.
It's not easy, no.
And you have to love what you do. And so, the way, as I said to you right from the outset, if you create an environment where you are liberated to extend yourself, and you're in this environment that you know that you're protected, that no matter what happens, that at least you're trying to do the right thing by the client, and you have the support, then the associates feel good and comfortable and safe. And sometimes senior management have to take over, because no matter how polite they're being, sometimes a client will come back and pummel you, nonstop. So look, each interaction, as I said, has to be handled differently. Do you have any stories you can share? Well, yes, actually, I was going to say there's one. It is so outrageous.
Okay, no names.
No
Let's
names.
Hear it, though. Let's hear it.
It is one that is so outrageous that it left me perplexed, actually, and that was back in the 80s. I was the hotel manager at the Ritz in London.
Okay.
And the Ritz was part of the Cunard Hotel group. Cunard Hotel also had the QE2. And so there was this sort of packages where you would sail the QE2 for 5 days across the Atlantic from New York, arrive at Southampton and come to the Ritz, stay there for 5 nights, and fly by Concorde. Fantastic.
Wow.
It was kind of like a package, if you will. Not everybody always turned up, because the people that could afford it were the older population, if you will. Of course, I'm getting there myself, but having said that, they were the older population, because it was an expensive journey.
Yeah.
And some of them, and I don't think had actually traveled out of this part of the world, the US, to the UK. And
So it was all New York, London, New York. That's it.
it was New York, London, New York, and back, yeah. Well, first of all, I used to spend a lot of time talking to those clients, because they were probably the most difficult clients. And without question, the most difficult clients ever. And there was one time I remember sitting, trying to explain to a couple that they cannot have the view of the Eiffel Tower.
In London.
In London. And you can laugh about it, you can joke about it. At that time, I thought, this is really funny. The guys are they're really pushing the boundaries here, and trying to make a mockery out of me, versus the other way around. So after a while, we kind of talked. I said, look, I can call the other Ritz in Paris and have you go there. He said, no, I want to stay here. My point is that, as absurd as it sounds, you sometimes have to think, wow, you just haven't left your neck of the woods, and you don't know any different. God bless him. At one point, somebody tried to, now I can talk about it because it was decades ago, somebody tried to sue us. I won't say which hotel, which company or anything like that, sue the property because at night, and actually that's how the turn down, you know how at night time when in the evening when you not only are your curtains drawn and this and the other, but the way your the sheets are sort of hanging out of your bed so that you don't have to pull the sheets up, right? The top sheets.
Yeah.
And in this scenario, this was back then, and sheets used to be tucked in. I remember somebody suing us for twisting their ankle at night when they were turning in the bed. And
Because the sheets were still tucked so
because
tight
they were so tight. They turned at night, and yes. So part of my experiences have been a lot of litigious conversations. I mean, really, really tough conversations.
Yeah. I mean, these sorts of stories and this sort of absurdity is what motivates a lot of my Gstaad Guy content. But I hope that most of the people who end up in a position where they can stay at some of the world's nicest hotels and indulge in some of these absurd experiences understand that there is some level of absurdity to it.
Yeah.
And that the position they're in is in fact ridiculous, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
And that creates some sense of self-awareness and gratitude.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part it does.
Yeah.
I think that most people who have achieved tremendous success and are able to put themselves in a position where they are now enjoying the outcome, there usually is some level of self-awareness. I think where I struggle most and what I'm observing most with my audience and with this world I find myself in is the people who haven't necessarily earned it.
Yeah.
And their parents may have, and the parents may have not raised them with the right values. A lot of them are, and I'm really grateful that when I meet my younger audience with their parents, they're usually very kind and very well mannered.
They're like you.
No, thank you so much. No. But they're usually very kind and well mannered and well raised, and their parents really passed on those values and
few and far
grits.
between.
But
it's
there's also a lot on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
And they're the ones I see that are often the ones complaining most. They're the least respectful to staff. They're the ones who haven't been in a position of struggle necessarily themselves. And things have been handed, so they assume things will continue to be handed.
You're hoping that as a result of that, a little bit of self-deprecation going on, this and the other, that they're actually seeing themselves. Maybe I should, but maybe it's too late, at that point.
That's true.
You just reminded me about generations and so forth, and something that Rosewood, as a result of destinations like the Carlisle, and as you know, Carlisle is a meeting point for 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. It's a place where people, they're so respectful of the Carlisle. And I've seen younger generations in there that have clearly the parents and through tri-generations, how they've passed on the values. And they still go to the Carlisle at the Bemelmans because they want that martini that their parents and grandparents had there. And it's like you mentioned places like Badrut's Palace, Crillon, Carlisle, some of these hallmark marquee properties that house these values.
It's like family values.
Family values. And you know that your previous generations have been there. It makes you feel good, especially through tough times that we had, COVID and these kind of events hopefully educate you to be better people. Well, I mean, as soon as COVID was over, things were back to normal.
It's amazing. When I posted about the Carlisle, the amount of people that reached out to me and didn't just say, wow, I love the Carlisle. I had people who say, wow, I only stay at the Carlisle. And you have this loyalty
Yeah.
of people don't even want to try something new.
Yeah.
And that's very Gstaad Guy.
Yeah.
Like I talk about my character Constance and what it means to be a connoisseur and someone who's lives like the real Gstaad Guy.
Yeah.
And it's someone who is so incredibly stuck in their ways
Yeah.
and in their choices. They like very few brands. They like very few properties. They are very resistant to
bars.
change. They like their soap bars. Exactly. They
Yeah.
smell great, by the way. They smell really, really good.
I only have them at home.
They're amazing. They smell fantastic.
I'll send you some.
Please.
You know, a lot of people say that. A lot.
Smell
It's
really
the
good.
old-fashioned soap bar and the smell of that. It's so Carlisle.
Yeah.
And those are the sensories that we talked about earlier as well. Yeah. To your point, you know, you have to keep one hand on tradition.
For sure.
Yes, you're pushing life forward, but I mean, I truly believe that these kind of unique properties around the world, these hallmark properties, hopefully they're sort of education ground for people to say, you're dressed rightly, you attire appropriately, and you cannot forget about those values.
For sure.
And they cannot just be depleted over time.
I mean, you're saying for these properties to hold on to tradition,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. But I find that people's demands are also, the bar goes up and up every year.
Yes.
And what it means for a hotel to be a hotel, and the number of restaurant outlets, the capacity of the spa and the treatments available at the spa, fitness and even biohacking. I stayed recently at a beautiful hotel by the Kerzner Group in Dubai called Syro, which is like basically a gym clinic all in one. And first and foremost, you're there to stay in good shape, basically. And I've also stayed at different hotels like the Habitas in Alula, which is made to explore and enjoy the experiences around the property. And there's so many different use cases and so many ways to do hotels right. And I find that the bar is constantly being raised. Like so Belmont are now getting into boats, I think.
Yeah.
Where do you see the Rosewood going, and what do you think is reasonable versus losing focus on your identity?
So, you know, as I mentioned, Rosewood's transformation, 1.0 when the brand was founded, 2.0 when the brand was purchased. Our next journey is about making sure that it's kind of giving back to our clients in a way, saying that we have this unique, beautiful assets, and I keep calling them asset properties in Hong Kong, Paris, London, Rome, Venice. We have all the primary destinations. We're there. And so now our guests say to us, well, we want more of Castellón del Bosco in Tuscany. We want more of St. Bart's. We want more of these authentic destinations that you say, Rosewood, that is what you do. That's your ethos. And so we are now, with the team, searching for those authentic destinations. And by that, I mean not big, small, intimate, touching the nature, because people want more of that today than ever before.
For sure.
To your point
about,
like Alula, for instance, and the whole, in South Africa about the, I think it's South Africa, no? Where you were with the one and only, where was the...
it was actually in Dubai.
Dubai, all right.
Yeah. Because they have an amazing property in Rwanda with where you can do guerrilla trekking. The one in Dubai is the exact opposite approach. It's more like the Equinox Hotel meets like a Clinique La Prairie.
Yeah.
It's like...
Smart. So again, yes, there is. So from a Rosewood standpoint, if a destination warrants that, like a Dubai, for sure. But guerrilla trekking, absolutely want to be that. We want, I'm looking at potential lodges in the subcontinent area at the moment.
Amazing.
For us, because it's the extension of what Rosewood says it is, and where our guests, these super high net worth individuals, like I mentioned, individual travelers, they want to go but don't go because Rosewood is not there. It's that sort of cocoon aspect.
For sure.
That they want to go, they feel secure, that they're seeing a destination through our eyes with our service, and that sort of comfort level of knowing, I know that I'm going to get platinum service.
Yep.
And I know that Rosewood's going to take care of me personally, that I'm actually going outside of my comfort zone to some of these other destinations. I can't name them because we're actually working on a handful at the moment. And they're actually going to be really exciting destinations. Destinations that would not normally be on people's bucket list.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Learning so much as always.
It's I mean, I hope I didn't ramble too much. I wanted to make your life easier so you didn't have to ask me questions, because I don't like the fact that, the whole Q&A part. I prefer it to be a dialogue. And of course, I'm a bit verbose because I get carried away with what I do.
It's perfect.
My calling. So
You did great.
thank you.
So
Thanks
much.
for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gstaad Guy podcast. If you're keen to learn more, please follow along by engaging with our social channels on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Merci beaucoup, à la prochaine, and a big hug from the Gstaad Guy.